What's going on, guys? This is James Allen. I am recording this on Saturday, August 30th, 2025. As you guys know, I've been writing a lot of Android code lately. I've been using Kotlin to build Cityscape for Android, and I've finally gotten to the point where I submitted an app to Google for review. And over the last week, I think I submitted about 4 times to Google, and it got rejected all 4 times. So I got 4 rejections in a row, and I would look at the things they told me, of course, as to why they rejected the app. I think the first time they rejected it, it was for my policy issues, like the policy you have to put the user through wasn't correct, but I got through that easily. Then when I submitted it again, they kept telling me the app was crashing. So I tried to recreate the crash, of course, and realized that the simulator, the Android simulator, doesn't recreate the version that you send to Google, right? The version that will be on a Google Play Store. The Android simulator cannot create that. So I had to get a whole separate tool called Bundle Tool, and through my terminal, basically run a Play Store version on my Android phone, right? And of course, I submitted it again to Google. After correcting the issue, I had some packaging issue, and then they rejected again, saying the app is crashing. So I'm like, what the hell? So again, I'm kind of like running through the code and not seeing any issue, right? Like I'm doing everything. I'm testing the crap out of this app, man, and nothing is crashing, right? So I go and do some optimizations, and I send the app to Google again. And sure enough, they reject me again. So I got rejected like 4 times. They reject me again, saying the apps keep crashing. So then like I took a pause here, right? Luckily, I had Crashlytics installed on the app, so when the app crashes, I could see like what's going on. It gets reported to me what's crashing. And if you're a developer, I really recommend you use Crashlytics, because if you ship your app on production without it, when the user crashes your app, and at some point users will crash your app, right? You won't know what went wrong. So it's important that you have a tool like Crashlytics so that you could see what went wrong when your app is in production and people are using it, so that you could fix these crashes, so that you're not embarrassing yourself over and over. Anyway, I went to the Crashlytics logs and saw what went wrong. And of course, I went and fixed the issue, but I started asking myself, like, why would this issue even come up? Right? Because like a user going through a regular experience, this issue wouldn't come up at all, right? So I was I was sitting down this morning asking myself, like, what made this issue come up? And then boom, it hit me. Because like the app was crashing because the application would hit a part of the code that would throw an error, rightly so. So the app was doing its job. But because I wasn't catching the error, right? It wasn't an error that a user would necessarily cause. I wasn't catching the error. So the error was bubbling up all the way to the main thread, and it crashed my app. But then like when I sat down and asked myself, like, how did this error even come up, right? Right? Like how, that's when I realized the Google engineers were testing my app differently. It was like a huge click moment. Like everything clicked. Like these engineers at Google are testing my app very differently than what the Apple engineers would do, right? The Apple engineers, they don't really fuck with your app like that. They don't really force it to throw errors, right? They're really testing the quality experience of your application. So if your app has a really good and smooth experience, and the people at Apple will test for that, they will pass your app. What I just realized with Google is that I had tests all the freaking user experience points of my app, and it was perfect. It was just smooth, right, on Android. But I wasn't really forcing my app to throw errors. I wasn't doing things to make my app throw errors. And that's what they were doing over at Google. And of course, when my app threw the error it was supposed to, I wasn't catching all of them, right? That's a mistake engineers make, and the one that I wasn't catching bubbled up all the way to the main thread because I was doing it on a background thread. I'm using coroutines, of course. I'm using asynchronous programming, basically. It bubbled up all the way to the main thread because I wasn't catching it. And of course, when it goes to the main thread, crashes your app just like it would in a iOS environment, right? So, guys, the lesson of this video is this: like, if you're a developer founder, just know the Google guys will test your app very differently than the Apple guys. I feel like us engineers, we get stuck in a comfort zone, right? We get stuck in our groove. Like, I'm so used to the Apple engine. I know what the Apple guys look for, so I optimize for that, right? But then, like, when you ship it to Google and they start fucking with your app, you're like, what the hell? You're getting denied 4 times, right? So just know the guys over at Google test your app very differently, and it's really good for you because it's making you work out both sides of your brain. The Google guys, they test your app in a more hacky way. They're more hacky about the way they test your app as opposed to like the Apple guys. It's more quality experience. So I hope that helps my founder out there. In any case, I have another video for you coming up about this book, Designing Data Intensive Applications. Very powerful book. I think founders and engineers should definitely read. A video on that is coming up. When my time frees up, it will bubble up on YouTube. In any case, my message, you know what to do. Don't forget to press that like button and support me on Patreon. I will see you next time.